Hello everyone and Happy New Year. This is Ange. Welcome to another episode of the Visual Novel Monthly Recap, this time talking about news that happened related in December of 2024. The next wave of anime adaptations includes an unexpected title, Noia. While its classification as a visual novel is debatable due to its gameplay elements reminiscent of social deduction games like Werewolf, and the fact that it was removed from VNDB for those who consider that site gospel, Noia has gained popularity for its unique time loop mechanic. The original game was a social deduction RPG where characters' roles change across different loops. I've seen some fans actually intrigued by the potential anime adaptation, believing it actually might improve upon the original game's storytelling. While Shirobune has technically announced it before, it's nice to have confirmation that they are continuing to work on and will soon be releasing The Shell, Part 3, Paradiso. For those who don't know, this is the continuation of the HD versions of the Kara no Shoujo series by Innocent Gray. This is significant as Kara no Shoujo 3, the last episode, has never had a translation released, while Kara no Shoujo 1 and 2 were released long ago by Manga Gamer. With The Shell Part 3 upcoming, this means we'll finally have the full trilogy translated. You can wishlist it now on Steam, and I expect it to come around early mid-2025. Boki Boki Games announced that they will be publishing an English and Chinese translation of Alisoft's Nuki Gay Simulation NTR visual novel, Tsumami Guri 3. The release is currently scheduled for sometime in 2025 on Steam and their official website. I talk more about it, but I think NTR Nuki Gay Simulator should say a lot about whether you're interested in this title or not. For those who enjoy reading visual novels on the Switch and are fans of either Visual Arts Key or Romeo Tanaka, the linear visual novel Stella of the End has just released on the Nintendo eShop. This kinetic visual novel is set in a post-apocalyptic world and follows a courier named Jude as he escorts an android girl named Philia through dangerous territory. For fans dissatisfied with Shirobune's localization of Nukatashi 2, a user named Yomi released a delocalization patch aimed at, in his words, restoring the original text's integrity. The patch involved thousands of script changes focusing on improving translation accuracy and preserving the original Japanese text's nuances. Yomi noted that while some poorly translated jokes remain due to the translation complexity, the overall goal was to provide a more faithful representation of the original script. Fans interested in this patch can find it through Yomi's Discord. One of the biggest OLVN, EVN, or Western original visual novel developers, Pixel Fade, has released their newest title, Astro Ascension. This is a project that has been in development for a while. Unfortunately, as of this month, they have opted for an early access release on Steam, meaning you can only read the first couple chapters, which are roughly 3 to 5 hours long each. It supposedly allows players to experience the beginnings of each heroine's routes. If you'd rather not pay for early access, they claim the full game will consist of 5 to 7 chapters total, with one releasing every few weeks. The full release expected to be completed by the second quarter of 2025. One notable aspect of Pixel Fade VNs that interests me is that they are one of the few Western developers to feature full English voice acting, which I find fitting. It's something I wish more Western visual novel developers would adopt. As for the setting of Astro Ascension, according to the Steam page, it's described as a choice-driven space sci-fi visual novel with an intricate relationship system. Over a month after the release of the dark visual novel Dead Days by Clockup, Shirobune released their own called The Restless Sheep and the Lone Wolf, A Tale of Cutthroat Lovers. Similar to Dead Days, it appears to be a twisted love story, this time set in a Japanese suburb. However, this time the protagonist is a Yakuza bigwig and the main girl is a mysterious woman who can put him to sleep. Unlike Dead Days, which is limited to the Manga Gamer store, Shirobune was able to release The Restless Sheep on Steam. Outside of that, I don't know much about it, but it appears to be slightly more liked than Dead Days. Shirobune also released its fan disc, The Restless Sheep and the Lone Wolf Woolly Eyes Gaiden. According to the Steam page, it calls itself a simulquel, featuring 5 all-new short stories seemingly with different main characters compared to the original. P-Cube announced a few visual novel translations during an internet livestream. The first was Iura Arya, developed by Mages. This appears to be a darker, girls' love visual novel set in post-war Japan. The only notable aspects I see on VNDB are its mystery and map selection tags, but that's about it. Besides the surprise that it's a Mages visual novel not related to the Science Adventure series, Iura Arya is set to release sometime in 2025 on Steam and Switch. P-Cube also announced Bust a Fellows Season 2, the sequel to the notable Otome visual novel. The original game was distinctive for its protagonist's unique abilities, including the power to leap into the past by inhabiting other people's bodies. Notably, the main female protagonist stood out for having a well-developed personality and high-quality voice acting, which is uncommon in the Otome genre. The sequel, Bust a Fellows Season 2, is expected to continue the original's themes of life and death drama and modern crime storylines. It's currently set to release on Nintendo Switch and Steam in 2025. The final P-Cube visual novel related announcement was DMLC Deathmatch Love Comedy, a visual novel developed by Kemco. The visual novel was written by the same author who created Raging Loop, a popular werewolf mystery visual novel. Interestingly though, DMLC was actually released in Japan before Raging Loop. Unlike its more serious successor, DMLC appears to be a heavily comedy-focused with a unique goofy premise where a girl falling in love with you could potentially mean death. The title itself hints at the game's blend of romantic and potentially deadly interactions that seems pretty unconventional if a bit gimmicky. Nekonyan and Hikari Field have released Haiki Sakura White Graduation, another Saga Planets visual novel, just 2 months after their previous release. Unlike the lighthearted modern moege kakenuke sparking youth, Haiki Sakura is a pure mystery emotional drama with a protagonist with a super foul mouth. This is an HD version of a visual novel originally released in Japan in 2012 and is widely regarded as an excellent emotional nakige, possibly even a depressing utsuge. The visual novel was written by Nijima Yu, who also contributed to Summer Pockets and The Witch's Love Diary. Jast USA released Yami Zomi Liberator, another title in the Yami Zomi series developed by SQD. This appears to be a standalone dark Nuki Gay where characters are summoned by heroines to fight a demon lord in another world. According to VNDB tags, the game likely features gameplay mechanics and potentially explicit bad end scenarios for the heroines who get graped if battles are lost. Aniplex.exe and IML released Seedo Lullaby on Steam. It appears to be a story about 3 generations of girls from the same family who meet as roughly the same aged versions of themselves through time travel and go on an adventure through the land of gods. There's a free demo on Steam, and from my experience of it, it has little narration and seems to have a wholesome yet emotional vibe. For those who consider Death End Request a visual novel series, its newest entry, Code Z, along with the JRPG Neptunia Rebirth series, all by Compile Heart, has gotten cancelled for being released in English on Nintendo Switch due to not following their guidelines. It's definitely an odd cancellation given Nintendo has had all ages versions of Arrowgate before no problem like Nekopara and Alcana. As of now, the release for Code Z is still planned for PS4 and 5 in the West, no plans for PC yet. For Symphonic Rain fans who have always wanted a physical copy, especially for the Nintendo Switch, you can now buy one through PlayAsia. It's technically the Japanese version, but includes all the languages that Symphonic Rain supports, including English, Chinese, and now Korean. Shirobune has released a remake of the classic Dark Nuki Gay Night Shift Nurses, a name you might recognize if you're a fan of old school hentai. As I just alluded to, this is a Dark Nuki Gay that involves a doctor conducting experiments using various nurses who work in the same hospital as him, and they're definitely going to be sexual and very likely not in a consensual way. Like every sex-heavy Nuki Gay title by Shirobune, you're definitely going to have to get the patch from their patch.moe site because there have been reviews complaining that the Steam version is only 30 minutes long, while the full version with the patch applied is roughly 5 hours. One of the weirdest and honestly stupidest visual novel bans in recent times was the delisting of Holy Undead on Steam developed by Visual Arts. That's right, just Visual Arts, not Key. This happened just a week before it released on Steam too, just to rub salt in the wound. Thankfully, you can still get a free demo through the Visual Arts website, which includes the English translation. Sadly, due to the Steam ban, you can only buy the full version on Japanese stores like DLSite, DMM, and Animate Games. The full visual novel name is Holy Undead, an undateable, lonely necromancer gets reincarnated as a saint and makes friends. As you can tell by this light novelish title, this is a high fantasy story, and as someone who read the demo, it at least appears to have a lighthearted and goofy tone. Notably, this is apparently based on a light novel, and it shows in its writing, which reflects its fantasy action and humor style. Denpasoft, aka Sekai Project's 18+ branch, released the final entry in the Kuri Click series, My Sweet Model. For those who don't know, this is a Nuki Gay series that features minigame gameplay centered around being a grope simulator, naturally leading to H scenes. Each entry in the series lasts a few hours each. In this game, the protagonist is an otaku cameraman whose main grope interest is a gravure idol he meets at a comic event. Ramune Games released a visual novel called Lingerie S on Steam. It's interesting in that it's actually a simultaneous release in Japan and the West through Steam. I don't know too much about it besides the premise, which has an androgynous male protagonist become a model for lingerie, capturing the interest of the main female heroine. My assumption is that it's a Nuki Gay, but Ramune Games has not released anything before this, so I can't say for sure. A few other interesting things about this release. There's actually a free demo on Steam, something I consider rare for Nuki Gay, though unfortunately, this release of Lingerie S is bringing back the occasionally used practice of charging money for its 18+ patch. Specifically, the main game is $10 and the 18+ patch is also $10. Nekonyan has started pre-orders for physical PC versions for 2 of their more popular moege through the Denpasoft store. More specifically, it'll be Making Lovers by Smee and Koikari Love for Hire by Asa Project. They expect any pre-orders to ship out by the end of January 2025. Manga Gamer has released Welcome to a Sexy Open World on both Steam and their Manga Gamer store. This is a visual novel by the developer Moonstone Cherry, known for Nuki Gay like the Imoto Paradise series. This sexy open world does not appear to be Little Sister heavy at all though. Instead, it features a goofy isekai premise, complete with the main character starting off being hit by our good old friend Truck-kun. In this case, the main character actually has to help procreate a child, but if he doesn't, he gets sent back right before the truck accident. He also has the power to determine if a woman is at peak fertility. Yep, that's when you know this is a Nuki Gay. As this is a Moonstone title, I'm gonna assume it's mostly lighthearted romance set in a fantasy world. For those interested in more information about how the Summer Pockets anime will look in motion, the official opening video has been released. As a reminder, it's being produced by Showpro, known for series like Spy X Family, Komi Can't Communicate, and Frieren. The Summer Pockets anime is currently slated to start airing in April 2025, as a reminder. Frontwing has announced a new visual novel called Perennial Dust. While there's no information about the length or genre, we do have a bunch of character art and a story description that, not gonna lie, sounds like it's gonna be full of depressing feels. This is fitting because the main writer is Yukito Uroshibata, who wrote the Iro Toridori no Sekai and the Sakura Moyu series, two of the most depressing drama visual novels I've read. We also got more info on the upcoming Nukatashi anime. Specifically, we got to see a little bit of what the animation will look like, as well as Junosuke and Nanase's voice actors. We also have a full advertisement art featuring all the main characters of Nukatashi 1 and how they'll look like in the anime. Though interestingly, there's a couple of character designs at the top of this post that did not have sprites in the original visual novel, leading some to speculate if these are just spriteless characters from the original game or if there's going to be a bunch of anime original content. Right on Christmas Eve, Snowy Ryujin finally released a fan translation for the second fan disc of If My Heart Had Wings, Snow Presents. This is a story that takes place after Kotori's route from Flight Diary. This is a very short one heroine fan disc featuring Kotori, as in 2 hours of reading on average. It is a purely wholesome slice of life story where Kotori and the main character Aoi are university age. Though interestingly, this is a pull-top title that was a bit experimental in that Kotori is fully presented in every scene with a 3D character model as well as binaural audio, or basically 3D audio using multiple microphones. And that wrapped things up for December of 2024. As always, if you have any feedback, positive or negative, feel free to leave a comment below or in one of my social medias. A huge thank you as always to my editor, The Local Weeb, as well as all the people who support me through my paid YouTube membership and Kohi. But a special shout out to Ice, who has recently rejoined the Super Weirdo tier once again.